unacceptable era of the toxic, abusive chameleon female, born out of the rightful independence of women after the traditional family breakdown, all encouraged, assisted and protected by the ignorant and oblivious powers that be, police, the Crown Prosecution Service and the family court. Let us examine the exploits of one such individual, an insidious, fully accepted, above-average millennial female covert narcissist, overt perfectionist with an alarmingly high sense of entitlement, who is seen only as a perfectionist with undetected, out of control, narcissistic tendencies, like thousands, if not millions, of attractive, clever, above average, impressionable, emulating others, all seamlessly blending into this 21st century corporate society, as if abiding ethics and morals do not apply, therefore bypassing a sense of conscience without fear, shame, punishment, redemption, or atonement. Thus, the making of the advanced 21st century people pleaser, malignant type narcissist, who externally is no longer rewarded, encouraged, or required to stand up morally straight and uncrooked in order to get respected and ahead, but at what psychological cost for the rest of humanity, and more fundamentally, their victims with very severe consequences, often eventually prison, and in extreme cases, even death. The main traits experienced from this particular narcissist: a severe lack of empathy, self-absorbed superiority complex, especially when this narcissist not getting an increase in supply. As soon as the supply flatlined, it was time to devalue the victim, me, and start people pleasing someplace else, grooming replacement. In this case, it had been a group of unknown Filipino nurses, and probably a male Spanish nurse, who, according to the narcissist, had asked her out on a date during the time I had been misled into thinking we were still in a relationship. The narcissist had allegedly told me that she had declined the above date, but still, according to her, we will address as the emotional abuser now had broadcasted it to everyone today, especially these Filipino nurse housemates above, a deliberate, practical, narcissistic mind game. It was later learned had occurred for only supply. Eerily, the same charm was used on these hospital colleagues to gain their trust and emotional backup and support. The reason for this was that the narcissist was no longer satisfied, and the current supply and victim, had now become an inconvenience or obstruction to her self-serving plans and hidden agendas. The narcissist always moves on when the supply does not make them feel good or happy anymore from being supplied. The narcissist will most certainly move on when a seemingly better new supply is available to latch onto conveniently. Gaslighting, projecting the emotional abuser's sense of reality onto the empath supply, making this eventual target victim me believe that I was the only source of all the relationship problems, inducing long-term spirit breaking by sucking the life out and reducing the target victim, to a mere shadow of my former self, with no identity of my own, because the narcissist had displaced it through relentless undermining and mental incompetence, intimidation, which is very difficult to brush off, or impossible to undo once done. These mental attacks stay for life in the form of flashback traumas, leading to the misunderstood victims getting triggered and shocked, like post-traumatic stress syndrome. It was non-stop cognitive intimidation, the inevitable emotionally deprived victim myself had in time developed self-harm and mentally destructive idiosyncrasies, and now trying to seek help and support from trained professionals because of the unbelievable devastation she had devised over time on me. This narcissistic individual is not understood by the authorities in the way she should be as a person with mental disorder. There is no doubt about it. This individual has narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD for short. It is no joke and should be taken very seriously, as this emotional abuser has sadistically gone about deceiving and abusing like these were acceptable personality traits to express. The emotional abuser eventually relapsed back to this narcissistic disposition after trying to be nice and fair, act normal, by saying once, "I have to be what I am." I, brain traumatized from her mind games, have to relive what she did to me every single day. Yes, every day. I am triggered and have to go through these awful rage moments without any support, assistance or justice. I end up talking to myself and shouting obscenities aloud, usually finding seclusion and privacy inside my car. With narcissists, their actions do not follow what they say. Please watch a love bomb letter. Reading on YouTube for reference. Words are used only to manipulate. Please watch this video. It will help to grasp the essence and importance of what I am trying to communicate. In denial. I did not want to believe it at first, only until the narcissist had completed a narcissistic cycle. Only then, to my horror, did I identify her as someone with full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, or MPD. In the end, it was obvious. She possessed all of the traits in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual 5 for MPD. A textbook narcissist in a deliberately doomed, fake relationship, or should I say, relationship, which was for her a cold, business-like stealth transaction. With I none the wiser the whole time until the bitter, discarding end phase of the supply need cycle. There had been enough toxic humiliation, rejection, ignorance, and emotional validation for one to go completely insane, lose the bonds, trying to live with plenty of justified reasons. From this emotional abuser, just waste away, give up, and die. I now believe that I am mentally unstable as a result of falling unchecked narcissism. This emotional abuser systematically rubbished my life for a very long time. Things will never be the same again in my mind. Relationships are obviously out of the question from here on out. But do not for a second think that I was ever the problem in this awful situation that developed through the depraved creativity of a female narcissist. The dangerous interaction of the narcissistic emotional abuser, always with a selfish agenda, intricate emotional supply and support network to use, and the codependent empath, usually with no emotional supply and no support network that they can ever hope to maintain through a lack of narcissistic, sociopathic or psychopathic motive, popularity, above average ability, attractiveness, and so on and so forth. Please watch for full clarity of how someone with MPD behaves. This was exactly how it was with this emotional abuser. Everything was the same as any person on YouTube describes the narcissistic cycle of supply. The narcissist has to have something about intelligent or clever, but under these superficial traits, they are all attention-demanding, predatory, exceptional liars, kindness, exploiters. Nothing will ever seem good enough for them, being highly sensitive, highly critical, totally dishonest, and apathetic to the core. The unwitting codependent looks after and cares for the incognito narcissist, often obsessed with trying to make the narcissist happy. This is a waste of time, a bottomless pit that can never be filled. The codependent, never feeling good enough, is always self-effacing, honest. Their lies are only white. The truth is always the chosen path. Being empathetic, some say being in love makes us gullible. Without question, believe in the narcissist's story and situations. The reality or the fantasy now of 21st century relationships is girlfriend, loving, loyal, trustworthy, supportive, relationship, two-way, amicable, friendly, harmonious, boyfriend, loving, loyal, trustworthy, supportive, reciprocal, mirrored, equal, harmonious, safe, honest. The reality is that the girlfriend or boyfriend is a narcissist, a master deceiver, an emotional, psychological, financial abuser, even physical. They're just in a transaction. It's always one way in the narcissist's favour. It's a supply. Anyone with low self-esteem, vulnerable, lonely, depressed, marginalised, dare I type, perceived as failing, ugly, old, stupid, an easy target to deceive, without protective walls and healthy boundaries. Rich pickings,